question again, are we going to have an agenda, where would we, are we gonna have an agenda item where we come up with the date of the meeting?
Yes, with the, when you want to discuss it, you want to do it now? I
Well-
suppose we can do it now.
Well, it doesn't matter when, I just wondered if it was on the,
Why don't Sherry and Hugh figure out a time that works and let us know?
Okay, Wichita, 9 o'clock.
Which Wichita?
okay. So does that work? That works for me.
Works for me.
Yeah.
When?
Did you two would,
Yeah, no,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
just let
That's
those
fine.
two figure it out and then call us or
Yeah.
send out some dates and we'll get right back to you
okay,
But this month or next month?
this month.
Ugh.
What do you mean, it's only the 8th?
I know, but have you looked at the month?
yeah, we have Thanksgiving and all
Yeah.
that.
One day.
Well, it shouldn't take more than a couple of hours
Right.
to meet, discuss it. and
I'd like to do it in the morning sometime if you don't mind.
Sure.
Mornings work?
Okay, in the morning?
What about
Does
you,
that
mornings?
sound good for everybody? That's fine with me.
So you guys talk it over, kind of
Yeah.
morning, let us know.
On whatever date is most convenient
Really?
for everybody.
Wow.
For next week, I'm open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday mornings.
Okay.
So just for clarification,
Yes.
because I'm not sure what you're doing here. So you're gonna have another meeting, is it going to be a work session, or is it going to be a meeting where you would make a decision? Because we need to note, whatever you do, we need to notice.
I'd like it to be a work session.
Yeah.
Properly.
Yeah, I think it probably should be a work session.
Okay,
And I'd like Mr. Sterringer to be there.
sure.
So then we have to fit into your schedule too.
No, there goes another $100.
Well, that's
Two?
expensive.
It's a morning meeting at
And after my own heart, good job.
Okay.
So what day are you guys looking at?
What about you, Bob? What's your schedule?
Maybe we should just do it now.
Tell me what works best for the board and
Okay, I'm looking at the calendar for November, and it's pretty busy, to be honest. You said Tuesdays or Wednesdays, is that what you
No, I
said?
said next week, if you're
Next
looking for
week.
next week.
Yeah,
Well, the 14th is a Wednesday,
yeah.
all right? So, how is that for anybody?
And keep it away from Thanksgiving if you can.
Yeah, well, that's the following week, and then,
Mhm.
Yeah, that's fine, I have a class, but we're allowed
What
to
time?
miss, it doesn't matter because we can miss, it's not,
well, I don't think pretty,
no, it's way over in Northwest Portland. It's okay, we can do Wednesday.
or
It's not a big
Tuesday.
deal.
Wednesday the
Tuesday.
14th, how does that
Sure, I
sound?
think Wednesday's
Okay.
actually better
Okay.
than Tuesday.
Wednesday,
Okay.
what time?
And what time is it? Well, we're talking about in the morning.
9 o'clock?
Sounds
Let's do
good.
it.
Bob, how is that with you?
if I can leave by 11:30, that will work.
Oh,
best.
Oh, we'll have,
Sure.
oh, yeah,
We'll be done, we should be done by then.
So Wednesday, what's the date for
The
that?
14th
14th
at 9 AM.
at 9 a.m.
Here?
Sure.
Okay. Work session.
Was it 9
That
or
was 9
9:30?
AM.
Yep,
9 a.m.
9.
On Wednesday the 14th here. Board work session.
So that's settled, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Uh, Action items. First,
Did you call the regular meeting to order?
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
and we
And
approved
we
the
approved the
agenda.
agenda, you're right.
I
Yep,
thought so.
we're done.
Yes, you're right.
Okay. I lost my place. Oh,
Item
sorry.
one.
Item 1.
Action item 1.
So somebody, I move the board approve resolution number 04-2019 endorsing annexation of territory into the jurisdictional boundaries of Clackamas River water for property located at 17367 South Holcomb Road, Oregon City, Oregon, and related county right-of-way.
Second.
Those in favor?
We
No.
have to do that.
Presentation
Yeah.
and turn.
I'm back.
No.
Okay.
I don't have a lot to add. It's a fairly straightforward annexation request on Holcomb Road. Potential customer with need for water. All that, need well. All the costs related to the annexation, associated with the water service and the salt backflow assembly at the site, which keeps the well service, that'll be borne by the owner. So, get a resolution. Pretty much good to go on this one.
Do we need to set a meter or something?
Pardon?
Do we need to set a meter there?
Yes, yeah, that whole process will, the new service application, the customer will fill out once
Okay.
they're approved.
Do you know anything about this? Did his well fail or?
You know, they didn't give us a lot of information in the request. They just mentioned that they're being supplied by a well, but would like to become a customer.
Good.
Think of what time of year it is and how much water is in the well. It's probably pretty low. They may have just
I
been
think
tired.
I think with the water problems we've had over the last several years, I think all the water tables are low. I mean, we're having problems out in Beaver Creek.
Yeah, so they finally got tired of it.
Yeah. I don't know, I mean, he could have just worn his well out and said he didn't wanna buy a new one and said, hook me up.
Yeah.
Very possible.
Call for the question?
Oh,
Commissioner Andrew?
yes,
Commissioner French?
Yes.
Commissioner Polani?
Yes.
Commissioner Garrison?
Yes.
Commissioner McHale?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 2.
I move the board approve the selection of WHA Insurance for insurance agent of record services and authorize the general manager to negotiate and sign the contract.
Second?
All right, quick report this evening, Commissioners. So similar to what we did with the audit process, we went through a process to solicit organizations or companies that were interested in serving as our insurance agent of record. So it's advertised in the Daily Journal of Commerce and distributed. Through that process, we did get 2 firms that responded to the request for proposals, Brown & Brown Northwest Insurance and WHA Insurance. They submitted proposals that were then looked at. We looked at the cost, the services they provided, kind of their expertise and the assembly of their proposal and information and relativity to CRW. A selection committee comprised of myself and our HR generalist, Dora Campbell, and then contracts coordinator, Karen Holzgang, scored the proposals, reviewed everything, and in the end came out with a recommendation to go with WHA Insurance. That's Jeff Griffith, our current insurance company, so it's a familiar agency to you. I think their proposal really reflected a deeper understanding of CRW and our needs, and they actually had a pretty strong risk management component to their proposal as well. So we're bringing to the board the recommendation that we move forward with WHA Insurance. Under your board policy, it allows us to do a 3-year contract, and so we're planning to do that.
Where is WHA from?
They've always been Eugene.
Eugene? Didn't know.
Call for the question?
Commissioner Andrew?
Yes,
Commissioner French?
Yes.
Commissioner Polani?
Yes.
Commissioner Garrison?
Yes.
Commissioner McHale?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Item 3.
okay, I move the board conduct a second reading by title only and approve resolution 03-2019.
So this is the second meeting or the second time that you've seen a proposed amendment to the board policy. What this does is, I'm sorry, got it?
Yeah.
What this does is provide a little bit more flexibility as it relates to instances where we've been requested to vacate a public utility easement under certain conditions. And so, again, we had a chance to kind of introduce and discuss this last meeting. As part of your adoption process, you need to bring it up at 2 different meetings, allow for discussion, and then you can approve it at this meeting.
I have a question for council.
Yes.
So is this a pretty common practice amongst government entities to move this to the general manager, or is this different?
Well, actually, I don't think I can speak to that from experience.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. I just wasn't sure.
No, if I mean, nothing about it is unusual,
Right.
I would say.
I was just wondering kind of what others do, and when you're messing around with easements, you just don't have a crystal ball to know what's future's gonna do, and so, I don't know. Okay, thanks.
So I will point out, there's already the ability to do, it gives the general manager, when it's under the $20,000 value, some, that flexibility. But you have to do the market survey. Again, we're talking about a different, slightly different type of easement. So these are the public utility easements that are put as part of a platted subdivision that indicates that we're gonna have this utility corridor. In the instances that we're talking about, again, we're trying to be very specific, where it's these instances where we don't serve these areas. We don't have any infrastructure in that area. It's areas that are within the city. And the example that I gave was, frankly, an instance where someone's asking for that PUE to be vacated, and the only reason we're being asked for our input or endorsement of vacating that is because our boundary happens to overlap that area, even though we don't serve that area.
So that's comparable to what normally goes on the plat when it's submitted? That's what you're talking about?
Yeah, so the plat will show all the public
Right.
utility easements and any other easements that are on that property. I mean, if it's out, this is about areas that are not inside the district.
Yeah, this would be inside the district. And
Yeah,
that's
so
why
it's
we're
inside the
being
district
asked.
boundary, but not areas served by the district, yes.
And would only apply if the property is within the city limits of the city.
Right. And you also have the caveat that all the other public utilities have to vacate too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Call the question.
Mr. Andrew?
Yes.
Commissioner French? Yes. Commissioner Garrison?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalani?
Yes.
Commissioner McNeil?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Item 4, we just took care of that earlier.
Yeah.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Consent agenda.
Second?
Second.
Anybody?
Yeah, second.
Second. Third.
Is there anything you need to know, Carol? Good. That's the way we like it.
Call the question.
Commissioner
done.
An- Commissioner Andrew?
Yes.
Commissioner French?
Yes.
Commissioner Garrison?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalani?
Yes.
Commissioner McNeil?
Yep.
Motion passes unanimously.
You want to have that?
Any other questions for Carol?
we're at the informational reports stage of our agenda, so we have a quarterly updates, the financial update that Carol will present, if you're okay with proceeding.
Good evening, Commissioners. We have completed the first quarter of the fiscal year 2019, which happens to be the 8th of our biennium. So I'm going to be talking about the expenditures in relation to the biennial budget. So at this point in our budgetary process, we're at 62.5%, and our revenues currently are showing at 68.9%, or we're about $1.5 million over forecast. This is after adjusting for the increase in revenue that was part of our supplemental budget that was approved in September.
So this is the rest of the story.
The part of this is because we just got through the summer, right? So we billed our highest water usage, and our usage for, until late next spring is going to be lower. So if I jump to this next slide, you can see we have in this graph, and I'm showing the whole biennium so far, you can see that we have some pretty significant changes in our consumption over time. So seasonally adjusted, we're in a good spot. We're likely to come in higher. When I increased the revenue for the supplemental budget, I did not increase it as much as I felt that we could. I increased it for what we needed for the expenditures that we were requesting.
Thank you.
So now if we want to look at expenses, and again, we're going against that 62.5% threshold. So the personnel services, we are a little bit low. The budget includes the supplemental budget adds that we did. But we haven't yet hired the engineer that we were looking to hire. And we're looking at, and I think we just had a temporary intern start this last week. So we've got some hiring activities that are just now taking place. Materials and services, we're at 54.6%. So again, we're under budget. There are many things in our materials and services, though, that do have kind of a seasonal component. There are things that we pay up front. There's things that we end up paying later in the year because that's when we get billed. We don't divide those expenses up evenly over every month. We pay them when they're due, as long as they're within the biennium or the fiscal year. And then our capital outlay, we're at 29.2%. Wow, I see that my font size is wrong there. So again, on the capital outlay, we're pretty low based on the biennial budget. But as I've said before, I don't think Commissioner Garrison's heard me say this, but with capital outlay, you do kind of spend money in big chunks. And so when a purchase comes in, that will jump that percentage. It could jump that percentage pretty significantly. So areas to watch, personnel services, I don't have any concerns with where we are on that. I think that we're tracking just fine, and we'll see what our hiring does, but we did increase the budget to accommodate that.
When do you anticipate paying those people?
We have typically general pay scales for
when?
Oh, when?
Yeah.
When they get hired and with a
I
really
was
tight.
just wondering if we knew when we were gonna have those people on board. So
With
we
the
knew when
tight
those money was
job
gonna start
market.
going out, yeah.
Then it's kind of hard to say. Materials and services, everything's tracking pretty well. In our category of customer services, which includes paying the bills, it includes the credit card fees for accepting payments and some of those things. We do have some individual line items that are over budget, but I think overall in the category we're going to be fine. We do have a couple of other categories where if you look at the detail that was provided, might have some line items that are above that 62.5% threshold, but many if not all of those are items that we have paid for the whole second year of that activity. So I don't, again, have concerns about exceeding those line items or the appropriation in any of those. And capital outlay, as I said, we're under budget on that. We do have some vehicles that we are in the process of acquiring. Those won't be recorded on the financials until we actually have the vehicle here. And like I said, the capital outlay money, when it comes up, it will be spent in larger chunks. Capital outlay by definition is any item, by our definition, we have our own thresholds, any item over $5,000 with a useful life of a year or longer. So typically, anything that we spend will be greater than $5,000 at a time. So I do want to talk a little bit about our other funds, does anybody have questions on any of the items in the general fund? Okay. So, system development charges, we don't have any spending out of that fund in this biennium. But looking at our SDC revenues, we are coming in ahead. So we're at 86% of the budget, and that's again versus that threshold of 62.5%. With the developments that Adam just shared with you, the private work that's going on, we're gonna have quite a few SDCs probably coming in this year before June. The system development charges for the Abernathy Landing, part of that agreement is that we're gonna provide system development charge credits to them up to a certain threshold. And so we're not gonna collect the money that you would normally see for 96 homes, but it does offset part of the cost, our share of the cost of that water line upsizing. And we're gonna end up with reserves at around $2 million. So as we're preparing the budget for next year, we can look at capital improvement projects that qualify for system development charge funds. And rather than moving dollars from capital reserve, we could move some of that $2 million into the CIP program to help cover the cost of some of our CIP projects. And that'll be a discussion that we'll have internally to validate that it's appropriate use of the money, and we'll present that as part of the budget discussion, if that's what we determine to do. So capital improvement projects, actual to date, we're at $1,062,000, and Adam again in his presentation showed projects that were completed versus projects that we're just getting started on. So we should be within
of the
budget.
3 million, we've only spent 1.062.
Yes. And part of that, if you'll recall, we moved the Carver Bridge, which was over 500,000, we moved that into the backbone
Yep.
project. So of that 3 million, now we're down to 2.5 million to spend. And so we'll be tracking that. I don't believe we're gonna exceed budget. I'm pretty sure we won't exceed budget in the capital improvement projects.
So I got a question.
Yes.
If we're gonna be under spent in capital improvements, why are we moving backbone money to go to do the Hicksville Lane stuff?
Partly because it does benefit the backbone, and it could get us to that 85% spend.
But wouldn't building a pump station at Butterfield and Potter get us there too, and it's on the list?
That would be another option, and part
I'm
of
just
it.
saying, we got the
Yeah,
money.
part of it depends on how big the project is.
Yeah, right.
And we don't
That-
wanna run out of backbone funding before we've completed
Exactly,
backbone
and
projects.
that's my whole reason for wanting to know when we're gonna get the 224 intertie bid. We weren't gonna know that number for sure until we get that done, so it's
Yeah.
just hanging out there. But we got time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the only project that's not, that we don't
Yeah,
have
right.
actual dollars on yet. So then if we look at the backbone, these are the numbers that Adam shared, and it shows what we spent in fiscal year 2018, which was actually greater than what we projected for 2018, but again, because we added the Carver Bridge piece to 18 from capital improvement, and so we still had sufficient room in the CIP, or the backbone CIP bond construction to complete the projects that we're gonna get through, cover the cost of each period. So that is what I've got. I'd be happy to answer any other questions that anybody has.
Any questions?
Nothing wrong with that.
Thank you.
Management report.
All right, in your packet under item 5 is the manager reports. Just some things in addition to what's included in the written report that I just want to expand on. As it relates to the South Fork Water Board transmission main repair and bypass project update, we did hold kind of our final coordination meeting this week to make sure we're clear on all the steps and who's doing what and the timing of the different tie-in project. So that included South Fork Water Board, Northern City, the contractor Emery and Sons, RH2, the engineer, Washington County, of course ourselves. Also talked about the notification process, talked about the contingency plans and the backup contingency plan. And so it's one of those things that we've got a nice schedule where everybody's on the same page, and we're now ready for the 14th when we start that process.
So I've had a lot of questions from people, and I could, just reading them, being so ignorant. So the question is, why does that pipe have to do with me? They can't connect the dots. You know, they don't realize that it comes out of the river and goes to the plant. And I'm right here, they fool. That pipe's over there, I live over here. So that's,
It's gotta come from somewhere.
I know, I just have been amazed at how little people understand about how this stuff works.
So we have had notifications to all of our customers in the South Service area. Oregon City has been the same, we use the same information. Media release will go out early next week. And we're also using social media to push updates and so on as well. Contractor continues to be on schedule, and they've been an active participant in kind of reviewing with the partners the different steps that they're taking and the ways that they're preparing to try to minimize the time of the shutdown. For CRW, Joe is taking the lead as kind of our incident commander for CRW and being the main contact person as we proceed. So he's been involved, although obviously there's a number of hands and fingers that are working on this project as well.
Weather looks good. Looks like they're gonna have a pretty good window.
We were just talking about some positions. I'm pleased to announce we've actually filled 2 positions since we last met. So we filled our water distribution supervisor position. So Jason DeBreeze will be starting at CRW next month. Jason brings with him some very valuable experience in the water sector, and we're all pretty excited to have him join our team. I think he's excited as well.
Where'd he come from?
He's from Wilsonville.
Good.
He'll report to Adam as our chief engineer, and he'll be responsible for the supervision of our distribution group. So. We also hired Austin Carlson to fill our temporary water utility worker position. So this is a position we're trying to get someone in place to help out our distribution group, and so he's already started and he's helping out. So that's great. We also, Commissioner McNeil and Commissioner Garrison, myself and Adam had a chance to meet with Clackamas Fire District 1. They had 2 of their directors and the fire chief and the deputy fire chief. So we had a chance to review the CRW water system master planning efforts, and we'll work with them on getting the letter of endorsements as it relates to that plan. We also updated them on the South Fork Water Board leak. And then we spent some time reviewing our hydrant program, kind of talking about the current activities and identifying some future opportunities to coordinate where we can all do a better job coordinating and get better. And then we want to try to do another meeting here in about 6 months. So, Clackamas River Basin Council, I think at a previous meeting I mentioned that they were looking for a water provider representative to that, and John Goodrich with the City of Tigard has stepped up and he's also the municipal water provider representative on that organization for us. we'll coordinate with him. And then just Clackamas, a lot of, as you're aware, a lot of the other water providers have water right permits that have been going through an extension process. And so recently there was a ruling for the issuance of a final order to extend those water right permits. And so this ruling impacts municipal water providers or municipal permits held by a city like Oswego, South Fork Water Board, Sunrise Water Authority, and the North Clackamas County Water Commission. It was a very favorable ruling to the water providers, and actually it was interesting because the final order actually struck out language requiring municipalities to add a secondary curtailment during the summer. So that provision that was going to require curtailment between the period of July through September, September 4th. So that was an interesting change to the final order. There is I think a 60-day window for an appeal process, and so we're not to the end of that 60 days, so we'll wait and see what happens.
Isn't that short-sighted?
On
Just south of the river.
So they based it, at least in the document, they based it on the testimony from the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife that said that that is not a period of time where it impacts the fish, because that's not a time that they're migrating through that corridor in the lower 3 miles. Let's see, one update, I have my out of office schedule. Just wanted to note, Carol will be serving in my capacity while I'm out through December 6th, and then Rob will actually be taking over on December 7th for that one day. And then kind of an interesting thing, this is actually a first for me. You know, a lot of times customers will write something on the back of their bill or when they send in their payments and so on. And, you know, sometimes they're good comments, sometimes they're bad comments, but I've never seen one where it was a comment that was directed at the commissioner. And so we actually had one person send in a note that said, thanks to Commissioner Garrison for joining the team at CRW. So there you go.
Nice of your wife.
It was another person, yeah, so that was a first. I've never seen that before.
How much did you pay your neighbor to write that?
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting.
Cool.
And then just as a reminder, we do have an executive session tonight right after this meeting to go over property items. And that's all I have.
Do we have anything, any comments, anything for the board? If not, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
The meeting itself or the executive session?
No, the meeting itself, right? Okay, and then I apologize, there's two things. One, I want to point out you do have a 2019 calendar in your packet. There are date changes as it relates to the work session in January. Date change as it relates to the board meeting in February. And also a date change as it relates to the work session in May. And the final one is a date change to both the board meeting and the board work session in September. So just wanted to highlight those.
Those are all in this
They're
calendar
all,
here.
this calendar shows the new dates.
And we have changed the agenda meetings to 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so if one of us can't make it and somebody has to punt, it's at 1 p.m., not.
And so have you populated the calendar online with this information?
Done long ago.
Yes.
Thank you. I thought you did, but I
Yep.
wanted to make sure.
I just want to make sure we're aware that there's changes. Okay,
Okay.
now the last thing is you'll want to announce that we're gonna go into an exec session and read that citation.
Oh, I thought I did. We're going in, well, regular meeting is adjourned, we're going into.
No.
No,
Is
No, you're still in the regular meeting, you're just announcing that we're gonna be, we're gonna be.
So we don't adjourn this.
Strike that one.
Until after you make your announcement.
Okay,
Yeah, okay.
pop us in.
This is a different process.
We were going to have an executive session in the next door, and that will start immediately.
And
Or
you'll,
unless you need to
5 minutes.
go out for a drink of water or something.
and you'll need to read the bases for the executive session.
Okay, we need to discuss information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection pursuant to ORS 192.6602F and 192.3559. Number 2 on it is the conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions. 2E.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are we done?
Meeting adjourned.
Now I think you can adjourn.
Now you can